Hello, welcome back.
For another episode of Synchronicity podcast slash YouTube. I'm Megan.
I'm Nicole.
And thank you all for being here. We always love new people, old people,
All the
people. We're just super grateful. At Synchronicity, we change your brain to change your life. We go over just all the questions that you always had but never knew you had. And it's how we have healed and changed our brains to change our lives. So because you are what you think. So we reprogram the thinking in order to change the entire life.
You look so cozy right now.
Wear
It's
cozy.
so cold outside.
It's freezing
I just
outside.
looked over. I was like, wow, we look so cozy.
We kind of match because I'm wearing tan. But anyway, tan and black.
So today, it's very cozy. So it's a great topic. We are going to talk about hedonistic versus stoic because this is a very big, they're very big buzzwords in the world right now. There's, I'm practicing stoicism. No one talks about I'm practicing hedonism because most people are hedonists until they understand the difference and then want to step in and change. So we're going to break it down because it's a big part of what we do and a big part of healing and understanding that when you live in a world that we live in that's so materialistic and there's kind of like this battle of like materialism versus spiritualism is kind of what we break this down as. So hedonists are material driven and they believe that material is God. And
Heaven,
like that right now in this material plane, they are in heaven. And so what these individuals look for is gratification versus satisfaction. And I totally used to be guilty of being a very hardcore hedonist. Like I probably would say it's been in like the last year that I've kind of really stepped out of this like material obsession of like all the pretty things define me and stepped more into, it's not always about the bags and the shoes. It's about what am I doing from my soul's perspective. And am I, there's a balance between owning 50 pairs of shoes and worshiping those versus, okay, I need 3 or 4 pairs of shoes for this, that, and another. And it's not like I'm saying you need to be a super simplistic, but it's this like overconsumption world that we live in is really very much this hedonistic, material, God-worshipping world.
Well, hedonists just believe that the material plane is God, so they worship material. They're addicts, they're full of shame. Whether they're using other people to check out of their lives through sex addiction, or they're checking out of their lives smoking marijuana all the time, or drinking, or buying things, or whatever it is, hedonists are pain avoidance or pain addicts. And you're, again, talking about 98% of the population. We were raised as hedonists. I don't know many people that weren't, especially in today's world of like social media and like what kind of car are you driving and what are the celebrities doing and how much money do you have, and like that's somebody's worth is just their material worth. And so hedonists just believe, like, they're agnostic, they're atheists. They don't really understand or believe in the soul plane. It's one of the reasons why, like, in dating, it's one of my personal boundaries or deal breakers that somebody has to believe in something greater than themselves. I don't have an opinion on, like, what that has to be. But if you don't believe in the spiritual plane, which is Stoicism, Stoics believe that there is a God or something more than themselves, and that this is the testing ground, and that how we behave here matters, and what we do here matters, and how we're presenting and helping others matters. And Marcus Aurelius was a Stoic. His book on Stoicism is something that I follow and read and go back to. Because hedonists fight for power, and we watch this all the time, like the people that have to win at all costs, they're fighting for power. And a true Stoic or a true spiritual being fights for potency. They understand that we are humans, but we are souls first and foremost, and that, forgiveness and everything else, you're understanding that humans have an ego, but ego is to protect the body, not the soul. And so we have to integrate the consciousness of protecting the soul first, and that is doing what is right versus doing what you want. Doing what is right is God, and then you don't fuss and have the issues. And for women, that's doing what feels right. And for a man, that's doing what is right. That is God through the masculine and the feminine. And so when feminine is being true to themselves, they feel good to do good. And when men are allowing God and their souls to work through them, they're doing good in order to feel good. And that is the basis of Stoicism in the sexes. But, we live in a very hedonistic world, and it's a very seductive world, and it's about instant, instant gratification over being satisfied, right? It's like when you reach for the candy bar when you're starving and you shove it in your face and then you feel guilt, versus making yourself a healthy meal where you feel satisfied and you feel happy that you did what was right instead of what you wanted, because everybody wants the candy bar. It's those moments, right? And it's like what, it's about like waiting to have sex and building that foundation. That is doing what is right. Of course, like if you have chemistry with somebody, like you want to have sex right away. That's human nature. But a stoic wants to build a foundation for long term. A hedonist just wants to fuck to check out of their life. They are masturbating monkeys versus somebody that loves other humans and wants to fall in love. Because when you care about yourself and you care about humanity, you're somebody that is like, okay, let me just think about this. Yeah, of course. Like, I want to have sex. I want to eat the Snickers bar. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to drink a glass of wine. Or it's like, okay, well, maybe drinking a glass of wine isn't the best idea because I have to get up early and I have this and this and this I need to do. Or I won't feel good if you're the feminine. Or, I want to wait to have sex because I'm somebody that wants to build a relationship that lasts. You really have, and it's stuff that we weren't taught to think about. It was that instant gratification. What can make me happy right now because I am so unhappy? Not realizing that happiness and freedom come from discipline and dedication and stoic understanding versus just in the moment, what will gratify me right now. And we have really learned, even as being entrepreneurs, like how important dedication and discipline is, and stoicism of seeing the long-term vision and fighting for potency within that vision. We don't fight for power. We're just in it for the long run. This is what we came here to do as souls. This is what I want, and I will have it, and I will do what I need to do to get it done. That is not looking for like, oh my gosh, I didn't get 100 lights, I'm not going to do that, hedonistic, versus even if I get one person to change their thought process, then I've done what I needed to do. That's a stoic. And it's, this is a huge mind shift. And, it's been a struggle for me because I remember when I first heard about this from our mentor, I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, because my parents have always just lived in the moment. They haven't lived for the long term. And it's taken, a long time to really ground into just, okay, this is what I need to do right now in order to get what I want later, and understand that will come with time and patience. Patience has been massive, and patience is actually feminine.
Well, and the thing is that you really break it down is games. Are you playing a game with yourself in the world? Or are you saying like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to stick through it because it's commitment, right? Instead of playing this back and forth, like I'm going to say and do, but I'm not going to actually do what I say. And you see it all the time. We have clients, like they'll say one thing and they'll do another, and then like, why isn't it working? Well, you're doing and saying, but you're not doing what you're saying. And I think that that's a huge thing, especially working with alphas. We have a tendency to play games because of the the way we were brought up. It's very much like that whole culture of do what I say, do what I say, not what I do.
If an alpha is not rooted in Stoicism,
Yes.
you've got a fucking problem on your hands.
So, and this is the generational trauma. Like, we totally, like, I remember it's like, do as I say, not as I do. Well, that's literally the definition of hedonism. And so if you are doing and saying and they add up, you are now a Stoic. But in our society, a lot of people make promises. They say things are going to do, and then they just never do them. So it's a baseline of like trauma as a society, not just parents. I think it's just it's all over the place, right? It seems to be as if it's not a legal binding contract. Like the word no longer carries potency anymore.
Well, and Stoics are rooted in love. Because love is dedication and discipline. It's not doing what you want. It's doing for what's good for the relationship, right? You're half of a whole. And hedonists are rooted in really hate, shame, and addiction. They don't know love. Stoics are rooted in love because it's piggybacking off what Nicole said. When what you say and what you do add up, you have good character. But not only that, the law of love is the only way that you know you love yourself or anyone else is the promises and contracts you're willing to make and keep. If you are not willing to make a contract with yourself and keep it, you don't love yourself. So if you're like, I'm going to go to the gym and then you don't go to the gym, you don't love yourself. That's a contract that you broke. If you tell your significant other, tonight we're going to go out to dinner, and you're like, oh, nope, something else came up, then you're not showing love to that person. Love is rooted in discipline and dedication. It's not rooted in doing what you want to do when you want to do it. Consistency is huge with yourself and with others. And hedonists don't know consistency. They are emotional-based beings that feel, react, and think later. Stoics are people that feel, think, and respond. And when you do that, you love yourself. And in loving yourself, you're making space to love other people because you understand that how you treat yourself is how you treat every other human being on the planet, animal even, and the world in general. And hedonists are lying to themselves, they're lying to others, and they don't even realize they're doing it because they're so unconscious. Their unconscious mind rules them. They're so traumatized, they don't have the link between the conscious and the unconscious, the masculine and the feminine, the right lobe and the left lobe. They're just completely disasters. They're not dealing with, I want, I don't want. They're dealing with, you don't even fucking know, because they don't have any morals, ethics, standards for themselves or anybody else. And they are literally in survival mode, and they're in fight or flight constantly. And the worst hedonists is when you get into like narcissism and psychopaths. They're just completely collapsed into the material plane, and they manipulate the material plane because they don't understand the spiritual. And, it's a game that I stopped playing because it was so much suffering. Hedonists suffer. Stoics deal in pain and love and understand that, that's how you deal with those things, and how you show up in them is actually who you are.
Well, and Eric Byrne, he wrote the book Games People Play. That's literally, he literally that entire book breaks down gambling, alcohol, codependency. It's literally, it's putting hedonistic and stoicism into psychology, like the psychology based. And it's so fascinating when you start to look at these concepts. And like even Ryan Holiday, he does like the 365 days of stoic, everyday meditations. He does even like the stoic dad. Like he has, it's a very fascinating philosophy, but it's very simple. And it's choice. It comes down to like, what are you going to do right versus what you want to do in the moment? And are you conscious enough to be observant of what is happening? Because hedonists are just constantly in consumption of like, what feels good, what feels good, what feels good, what feels good, what feels good. And that's very, it's very much on the material plane. Like look at food, alcohol, sex, like that's all gratification, right? And we're circling back around to it. But when we went and saw the newest movie Gladiator, there's a quote in there, and it was talking about like people can hurt you so bad, and like the world can hurt you so bad, but it's how you choose to show up. And there's a part of that movie, mind you, that movie was like so not correct, like the era of what it was, since there were like sharks in the Colosseum. But the base root of it was still very much based in Stoicism. And at the very end, he had a choice to either reunite the both sides as a Stoic or to let them fight as hedonists and let the pain continue. And he chose to follow the way of his father, which was to be a Stoic. And so it's, if you change your life, you're changing people around you, is really what I was getting at when referring of that quote and that movie. Is like, just because the world around you is hedonistic doesn't mean you have to live in a hedonistic world. You make that choice to be a Stoic in a hedonistic world.
Well, I mean, and the thing about hedonists is that A, you can't take them on alone. B, they don't have any boundaries and they don't play fair. They don't negotiate. They'll win at all costs. And, you know, honestly, you just have to say thank you for sharing and walk away and learn to fight for potency and not for power, because it can get like very, I know, like I obviously still have hedonists in my life because I haven't cut like family members and things out. And you really just have to have grace and understanding that they just like really don't even realize what they're doing. And they will win at all costs. They don't negotiate. They don't do price or prize. They go, I will win no matter what I have to do. And that is such a dangerous mindset and such a, like, they're living on the edge constantly and they don't even realize it. And they're in so much suffering and so much pain, and they have no way out. That, you know, as you become more and more Stoic, you really like see people and you're like, oh, wow. Like, they're just constantly in a state of projection. They're constantly in a state of suffering, like, and they don't know how to get out of it. You know, and once you get in that spin, it's kind of like entering a tornado. Like, you can't even get wrapped up in it. You can't fight with a hedonist. They don't play fair. And it's actually really just learning. One of the biggest shifts in my ego has been just like knowing when to walk away and knowing when there's nothing more that can be done, that person is autonomous and has the ability to make the choice. And the biggest lesson that has been for me during my awakening is that people don't function the way that I do. They don't think the way that I do. I cannot have the expectations that I have for myself for other people. And that has been so enlightening of like, just because I would do something a certain way doesn't mean that other person's even capable of doing that. And that's that Stoic, you know, development of like being in the world, but not of the world, and understanding that everybody has their journey and that you're on yours, and just be grateful that you're here listening to this, because that means your soul and your mind have a desire to change and shift. And some people don't even have that desire. So just that curiosity is such a gift. And when you cultivate that, you know, in the right direction, like how much that can really just like change everything about your life. And, you know, stepping out of hedonism is just, I cannot tell you how much peace it will bring your soul and your mind and your body. And, it's just such a gift.
Life stops being like a battle.
Yeah.
You stop like having to go to war every day, where you're just like,
well, it's different kind of war.
Yeah, like you just like, people are acting like crazy, like someone's driving like an asshole, and you're like, all right. And then like it's really shitty. They're like down the road, you know, a mile, and the cop pulls them over, and you're like, well, shouldn't have been an asshole. But you know, they have every right to be an asshole. But you start to see it, and you're like, whoa, like I'm just not going to fight anymore. And I'll pick my battles, because at the end of the day, that's all you can do is choice. But if you want to learn more about hedonists or Stoics, we always recommend Marcus Aurelius has amazing books. Socrates was also a Stoic. Ryan Holiday has several books written more modern time. They're a little bit different, like from his perspective, but they are very much rooted in Stoicism. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like us, share us, comment. If you want to know more, if you want to hear something different, leave us a comment, or always message us on social media, synchronicity_sisters or synchronicity_podcast. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please like it, like our show, share our show, and I think that's it.
That's it.
All right. Until next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.